Hello, in this demo we are going to see what a DLL is. A DLL is nothing but it is a reusable component, or a DLL is also called as component or assembly, and a DLL cannot be executed directly. It needs some application to instantiate it. So we are going to implement, or we are going to create a DLL. Say the name of the DLL is products, and in that DLL we have a class called as product, and in this class say we have a method called as get bill amount, and this method takes two parameters. One is price per unit, another is number of units, and it is going to calculate the bill amount and return the bill amount as double. Now say I have developed this DLL. As I said that it is a reusable component, I am going to use the same DLL as my business logic layer for my presentation layers or UI layer of say console application. So I am going to create a DLL and I am going to use this DLL in a console application, and the same DLL I am going to use it in Windows application. And the same DLL I am going to demonstrate and its implementation, and I am going to use it in my web application. Now it means that I have the same DLL and I am reusing it in various UIs, say console application, Windows application and web application. This will demonstrate the reusability of a DLL. So DLL is nothing but it is a reusable component. So for our implementation, first we need to implement the DLL, we need to create the DLL, then we will create one application, console application, and we will use it in console application. Then we will create a Windows application and we are going to use it in Windows application. In the same way we will create a web application and we are going to use it in our web application, which will demonstrate the reusability of DLL or a component or reusable component. And this complete application, I can say that it is on two layered architecture or two tier architecture. Say my layer 1 is my DLL or my component, and my layer 2 is my UI. It could be console application, Windows application, web application, mobile application, or anything. So we are going to implement this. So let's go for implementation without any delay. Now we will start a new project, but this time instead of selecting console application, we will select class library, a project for creating a C# class library .dll. So a DLL can also be called as a class library. So I'll name it as products. Now as I told you, DLL is not a standalone executable file, so I cannot execute the DLL directly. So my DLL program will not contain a main method. It just contains a class. It just contains a class and methods. So I have a class 1 here in the namespace products. As I told you, we are going to create a class called as product. So if I go to Solution Explorer that I have with me, I'll just close this. If I want the Solution Explorer once again, I'll say View, Solution Explorer. Solution Explorer contains a solutions directory in which we have various projects. I have a project called as products. In this I have a class 1. I'll just rename this as product. So even this should change class 1 to product. Now as per our requirement, we are going to create a method that returns, definitely that should be public as per the rule, and it is going to return a double value, and I'll say get bill amount, and it is going to take two input parameters. One is price per unit and another is number of units. Any product, it could be any product, so that's why I'm creating a general class. Now what is it I should do? I should declare a double variable that is called as say amount, and I'm going to calculate the amount equals to price per unit into number of units. I'll just save this. Now if I want to execute, I cannot execute this. Why? Because it is not standalone. See that? Okay, before that it should return a value. I should say return AMT, amount. I'll try to execute this. It says that the project with an output type of class library cannot be started directly. Okay, I'll just say okay. So to create the DLL, just I need to select this, right click, and I'll say build. Select the project, right click and build. That's it. It has created the DLL. Now I'll do one thing. I'll just close this. Before closing, I'll just say save. So it is going to save as products. I'll say save, and I'll close this out, and I'll just go to that folder, Manzoor the trainer. Definitely you'll find a products folder. In this you'll find products folder. In bin folder you'll have the DLL. Debug, you have products.dll. So I have created this DLL. So this is my reusable component. Now how do I use it? To use this reusable component, say as we have seen, we are going to use this reusable component in three kind of application: console application, Windows application and web application. First of all, I am going to use this in console application. I'll say program C#, and this time I'm going to start console application. I'll say file, new project, console application. I'll say use DLL in ConApp. I have my solution explorer. Say I have two variables, int price per unit PPU, and another variable int number of units NOU, and say double BA, bill amount. Now what I want is, I want to read price per unit and number of units from keyboard and pass those value to the method that I have created in my products DLL in product class, and calculate the value and bill over there and get the result back to this application. So it's very simple. So just I'll say console.writeLine, enter price per unit PPU equals to in.parse console.readLine. Next I'll say console.writeLine, enter number of units. Now my BA, bill amount, equals to, I need to call that method, get bill amount. That method is present in the class product, so I need to create the object of the class product. So I'll say product P equals to new product. If you observe, it says that product class could not be found. Definitely. Why? Because my product class is in products DLL. So I need to include that. I need to get a reference to that DLL. How do I get a reference to that DLL? I have references folder over here. I'll right click it and I'll say add reference. Once I say add reference, I'll browse to that particular DLL. I'll click on browse. I'll simply go to that particular DLL. I'll just click on desktop, my shortcut to my folder. Here I have products project. In this bin debug I have products DLL. I'll say okay. If you observe, I got a reference to my DLL. Now I need to say using products. Why? Because my class is in the namespace products. I have added. Now if you observe, it says that product class is available. Why? Because our red line got disappeared. Now my bill amount equals to my object dot get bill amount. I need to pass price per unit and number of units, NOU, and here I will display console dot write line your bill amount is BA. Console dot read line. Now I'll execute this. It will ask me enter price per unit. Say price per unit is 56 and the number of units say 8. So my bill amount would be 448. Now I'll put a breakpoint. I'll execute this. Number of units. Now see that definition for this method is not available here. It is going to execute this method in the DLL. I'll just press F5. Now I got the result. Now I'll remove this breakpoint. I'll close this. Just save. I'm going to save use in DLL. I'll come to that project. Use DLL in con app. Use DLL in con app. In this I have bin debug. You'll find an exe as well as a DLL. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it on the desktop. Now I got the DLL and my exe. I cannot execute DLL directly. I'm clicking DLL, so I cannot execute it directly. Exe I can execute it directly. This exe is using my DLL, my bill amount. For example, if I remove this DLL, if I delete this, it should say that DLL does not exist. It should throw an exception. Use DLL has encountered a problem and need to close. We are sorry for this. If you are in middle of something, why? Because it is trying to look for the DLL which does not exist. I'll just right click and I'll say undo delete. I got the DLL back. Now if I double click, it is going to work fine. It means that my .exe file is using this DLL. Now I am going to implement Windows application and I am going to use the DLL that we have created in our recent video, that is products. So I'll just go for file, new project. This time I am going to start Windows form application. I'll name it as use DLL in Win app. I'll say okay. So here is my form, and I need not to worry much about how my Windows application works and all those things. Just we are going to simulate the use of DLL. So I have a form. It's very simple. I have a form and I have toolbox over here, and in this toolbox I have many controls. I'll just click on common controls. So from this common controls, I'll do one thing. I'll just take two text boxes. So I'll say text box 1, text box 2, and a button and a label. And here I'll have two labels. Label this label. Select the label, right click, go for the properties. You get the properties window, and label text I'll say price per unit. Very simple. I'll select this label, right click, go for the properties, and in the property window of your label 3, I'll name it as number of units. Select the button, right click, properties. For the button text, I'll say get bill amount. And this is my result label. I'll just remove the text. The label ID I need to set. Why? Because I'm going to use this. So label name is nothing but label 1. I'll name it as LBL result. It's very simple. I haven't done anything much. I have my toolbox. From there I have taken 2 text boxes, a label, 3 labels, in which one label is for result, and a button which I have named the text, or I have changed the text of the button as get bill amount. So this is my simple form designing, nothing else. I haven't done anything much. I'll just execute this so that we get a form. This is my UI. This is my simple UI. Here price per unit is say 34 and number of units say 5, and I'll click this get bill amount. What I want is whenever I click this get bill amount, this 34 and 5 must be passed to the method of the DLL, and it should return the result, and I want to display that result in the label below. To do that, I need to write the code on button click. So to write the code on button click, you double click the button, you'll get a code page. You'll get a code page and you get button click event. On this event I would like to write the code. Now as whatever we have done in our earlier program, the same way we need to proceed here. Select the reference folder, right click, I'll say add references. I'll just click on browse and I'll go for products folder, products, bin, debug, and my DLL. I have added the reference to the DLL. Now here I'll say using products, and here I'm going to create a product object, product class, p equals to new product. Now I'll take 2 variables, int price per unit. This value I am going to read from first text box 1. I'll say int dot parse text box 1 dot text. Like in our earlier example or earlier program, we were writing console dot read line, so we were reading from the keyboard. Now I want to read the text of this text box 1. This is my text box 1. I want to read the text of that text box 1. So I am reading the text box 1 dot text, and I am trying to convert that text or the string into int. I am trying to store it in integer variable. Now I will declare one more variable, int number of units. Same way, int dot parse text box 2 dot text. This is going to read the text of the second text box, and it is going to convert it into integer and storing in NOU. Now I'll create one more variable, double BA, bill amount, and here I need to call the method p dot get bill amount. I'll pass price per unit and number of units. Now whatever the result I get, I am trying to store it in BA. Now I want to display the result on LBL result, so I'll say LBL result dot text. LBL result is a label. The text of the label is nothing but label name dot text. I want the text of the label to be BA. As BA is double and text is string, so what is that I will do? BA dot to string. I will convert this double to string. As we were converting string to int or string to double, in the same way I am converting double to string or int to string. So I will just say dot to string. That's it. I'll save. I'm going to execute this. Price per unit is say 34, number of unit is 6. I'll say get bill amount. I'm getting the amount over here. Now I'll go to my project back. Use DLL in, before that I'll just save this. Use DLL in WinApp. See that I have got my exe, Windows application and product DLLs. I'll just copy these two, and on the desktop I have a folder called test.dll. It's simple folder. In this I'm trying to paste both the things, and I'll just grab the exe of my earlier project, that is console application, use DLL in console app. I'm not going to grab DLL, I'm going to grab only console app, and I'm going to paste it here. If you see, there are two UIs, one is a console application, another is a Windows application. Now both of these UIs will be using a single DLL. This is the reusability. Double click this, enter the price per unit 56, number of units 78, got the bill amount 56 and 78, and I'll just start Windows app 56 and 78. If you observe this, so one user interface is Windows application and another user interface is console application, and both of them are using the same DLL or the same reusable component, that is nothing but products.dll. Hello, in this demo I am going to show the reusability of the products DLL in my web application. So to create a web application, I am going to start Microsoft Visual Web Developer 2008 Express Edition. File, I'll say new website. I'll not say new project, I'll say new website, ASP.NET website, and I'm going to store this in my computer : projects in laptop win use folder unit, and I'll name it as use DLL in web app. I'm going to start ASP.NET web application. I'll just say OK. So this is my web application, and this is my default.aspx page. I'm going to click on design view. I'm going to go on design mode of this page, and here you need not to worry much about what a web application is. All those things we are going to cover in detail in our future video. Here our major area of interest is the use of DLL, and in this demo I am going to make the same configuration or same kind of UI I am going to design that I have designed in my Windows application. I'll just start my toolbox. In this I have standard controls. From this I am going to take one label and a text box, press enter, another label, another text box, press enter, and a button, and finally one more label. The same thing we did in our earlier example for Windows app. Here the text I am going to set price per unit. For this I am going to set the text as number of units, and for button I am going to set the text as get bill amount, and this label will be the result label. For this I am going to set the ID. There we have set the name, here I am going to set the ID. The ID of this label will be LBL result. Now simply execute this. My UI is ready. Here my UI is ready. So this will be my web application, and once I execute this, it is going to show me the web page. I got my UI. I'll just write price per unit is 23, number of units 6, and I'll click the bill amount, get bill amount. It should display me the result here. So I need to write the code on this button click. Just close this. I'll double click the button to write the code. Now I got the button click event. Same things that I did in my Windows app, I am going to repeat it here. Int price per unit equals to int dot parse text box 1 dot text. So I am going to read the text from the text box 1, and I will say int number of units equals to int dot parse text box 2 dot text. Now I need to create the object of class product. So before that I need to add the reference. Right click on the project and say add reference, and browse to that particular DLL that we created in our earlier videos, that is products.dll. Browse products bin debug, have added the DLL. Now I'll say using products before that I think I should rebuild this build website so that the DLL should get updated. I'll say using products, I'm going to create the object of class product, p equals to new product, and double BA is nothing but bill amount, also p dot get bill amount, and I'm going to pass price per unit and number of units, and I'm going to display the result in the label lbl.result, lbl_result.text equals to ba.toString. This is very simple, and here I am done with my web application. I'm going to execute this. Even this is going to use the same DLL. I'll just say price per unit is 23, number of units is 6. I'll click get bill amount. It is going to display the result. So it is calculating the result and getting the value from products DLL. So this is how I can use the DLL in web application as well. So this is all about your DLL reusable component. Thank you.